What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning into Oilers Nation After Dark. Connor Halley with you here, recapping Game 3 as the Oilers fall 3-2 in overtime to the LA Kings. Lots to get to on the show today here. Of course, we'll be joined by Zach Laing of Oilers Nation Daily Faceoff. Cam will join us in a bit here as well. Of Oilers Nation, we've got Gavin The Producer on a night where Oilers fans are pissed off and deservedly so. And some good news, Gavin the intern has become Gavin the producer. We'll bring him on later on in the show to talk about that. And of course, the game as well. First off, just want to, praise Victor Arvidsson, the medical miracle. After almost dying on the ice, he was able to return to the lineup and play a role. Victor Arvidsson, you are a god for doing what you did tonight, coming back in this one. Shout out to everyone on the chat and on YouTube here, on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Rogan, I see you there. Hello. We've got Aiden, Scotty, Terrace, Pats fan, Boo Pats, Brainwash, Justin, Cato, Kimberly, I see you there. I see Patrick, QF Pro, Corey, Matt, Kyle, some of the regulars there. We got Justin Trudeau in the house. Interesting. We need Rusty, the Reckless Optimist, in here to give us some positive vibes here on Facebook. We've got Willie. We've got Travis, Braden. A lot of people in here. A lot of pissed off fans. And, that's how it should be after that one. That was a game where the reffing was inconsistent. The Oilers did not do themselves any favor by any means, putting themselves in tough situations. Just a frustrating one for the Oilers. If you're on the chat right now, vent. Let us know how you feel. Let us know how pissed off you are, because this is a safe environment until the Kings fans get in here, which they inevitably will. Let's start things off as we typically do here on Oilers Nation After Dark with the good, the bad, the oily, brought to you by Cornerstone Insurance. You can check out cornerstoneinsurance.ca/nation to get an online tenant or condo insurance quote in just a few minutes and use the discount code NATION for an exclusive rate. Find out why Cornerstone Insurance brokers are ranked amongst the best in Alberta. For the good, the bad, the oily, we bring in one of our guests tonight. Of course, we'll have Cam on in a minute here, but we bring in Zach Laing of Oilers Nation and Daily Faceoff. So there you go. You're zoomed in there. Zach, be real with me. How are you doing tonight?
I'm pretty pissed off, Connor. I'm not going to lie. I said it in the lobby before we kind of jumped onto the show. I really hate to be the bad ref kind of guy and blaming the refs for what happens on the ice. But man, that might be one of the worst officiated games I think I've ever seen in the NHL. Like, we're talking about playoff hockey here, Connor, and they're calling ticky-tack bullshit on both sides. The Darnay penalty, the Ekholm penalty, just there's so many of them that were called, like the Costin penalty. Like, if you're going to call that an interference, you got to call Deneau holding McDavid on the boards 3-4 minutes later in the same way. If you're going to not call Philip Deneau for a two-handed lumberjack slash on Connor McDavid at the end of the third period, then you're going to call some bullshit on Nugent Hopkins on him slashing a guy in the offensive zone or whatever zone it happened in. The standard of officiating was just terrible tonight. There was absolutely no consistency. And I think everybody should be upset about this because we were robbed of a really, really good hockey game tonight. There were 13 infractions called in an NHL playoff game. To me, that's just unacceptable.
Yeah, and the chat echoes you. I think there's a lot of Oilers fans who are pretty upset with the way things went. I guess, though, as the segment is the good, the bad, the oily, we start off with the good here tonight. And, it probably feels like nothing right now at this point, but Connor McDavid gets going. He gets a couple goals on the power play, showcasing the shot. And, I guess down 2-1, you're going to need your best players to be your best players. Connor McDavid tonight was on his game. Still, even strength, not really getting it going. But on the power play, the power play goes 2 for 4 tonight. We know that they're 50% in this series. They're not going to get too many opportunities, it seems. But Connor McDavid, 2 goals on the night. That's going to be our good.
Yeah, it was great to see. Great to see Connor get involved. You'd like to see him involved maybe a little bit more offensively at 5-on-5. But you know what? We'll take goals any way we can get them. And they were 2 really great shots from Connor as well, which was really great to see him kind of break out of his shell a little bit of, in this postseason. I'll give the Kings credit. They're doing a good job of locking him down. Mikey Anderson, Drew Doughty, and Philip Deneau are just absolutely all over him. And, these might be some of the only people in the NHL that can really do what they're doing to Connor McDavid right now. And granted, he's still putting up some points, but, it's just not quite the, 14 points in 7 games that we saw last year against LA.
100%. We had also Tara saying Connor is good, Skinner and Yamo. Let us know anything else you thought was good in this one. We're happy to take some positives. Stuart Skinner, 28 saves on 31 shots. It's a 903 save percentage. On the flip side, Corpusalo, 40 shots faced, 38 save, a 950 save percentage. He was very good tonight. And, Kailer Yamamoto, except for burying it, he's been all over the place. With the good comes the bad. The bad, there was plenty of options. So we're just going to go with a vague one, reoccurring issues. And this one, Zach, there's one that I'm going to go to, and it was immediately following the Connor McDavid goal. And Leon Draisaitl, in my opinion, takes an absolute boneheaded penalty. It was soft. I will say it was soft, but you don't let the ref make that call. You skate right past Drew Doughty. You could have chirped him and been okay, but that little tap on the shin pad, it was so little, but he just didn't have to do it. And I thought, like you said, the bar was set with the Desharnais call. That was soft. I mean, that should not be called in a playoff game in the NHL. Terrible call. But at that point, I mean, you just can't do anything to shoot yourself in the foot. Leon Draisaitl does that, and very quickly, Adrian Kempe would make the Oilers play. Looks like they had a set play there, his third of the season. He's been a killer. That was one thing for me, though. I've talked about it for quite a bit. These dumb penalties that the Oilers have taken, and they're not helping themselves. It's just killing them. Anything for you with reoccurring issues?
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with you on some things there for sure. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, Elliot Friedman said it really well. I think it was heading into the overtime or one of the intermissions. I can't exactly remember. Like hockey is an emotional sport. There is a lot of emotion that is going on out there every single moment. And especially right now, we're talking about playoff hockey here, right? This isn't, some game in the middle of January when it's 20 below outside at Edmonton, when you've got Arizona or Tampa Bay or something like that, coming to town here. We're talking about highly, highly emotional games, and stuff like that is going to happen in games. And, yes, I can get behind the fact that, it is a boneheaded penalty. You don't need to be smacking another opponent on the legs after you just score a goal to take a 2-1 lead like that. But in the same breath, I mean, I'm sure players have said worse and done worse after whistles. We saw players on the LA Kings doing shit like that all night long. Yes, it's a dumb penalty to take, but again, I just don't feel like it's one that they even should be calling in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I will totally agree with that one. Like the Desharnais one, I wanted to complain about it. I resisted, and then I saw the video you posted. You did great work clipping highlights, and I was just like, he didn't do anything. It was so soft. It's playoff hockey. Like we're used to guys getting punched in the face and the refs let it go, and all of a sudden we're calling elbows to the chest and little taps. For me, though, it's just like you don't have to do it. Go celebrate with your team. Should never have happened. But these continual issues of this team hurting themselves with bad penalties continues to go. The Oily tonight. We've got Game 4 equals must win ? And we'll throw this one out there to everyone watching. Hey, we've got lots of Kings fans. I saw one nice Kings fan in here saying good game. It's been washed away because there's so many comments going on. The YouTube chat going crazy right now. Make sure you hit that like button. But Zach, we'll throw it your way first. Game 4, is it a must win?
Yeah, it absolutely is. They say every game's a must win in the playoffs, but it is absolutely a must win now, right? I mean, we're down 2-1. Not a great position to be in, but you know what? At the end of the day, this is a very good Oilers team that has really outplayed the LA Kings all playoffs long. I mean, I think that's something that we need to be taking away from this game as well, too, was the fact that it was, to be frank, another dominant performance at 5-on-5 by the Oilers. If you take a look at the underlying numbers right now in the playoffs, the Oilers have controlled 59% of the shot attempt share through 3 games. They've controlled 60% of the expected goal share through 3 games, 60% of the scoring chances. They're dominating every facet of this game at 5-on-5. I thought tonight that they struggled in the first period. I think they looked a little bit slow, a little lethargic, but they are playing some really good hockey as a whole right now. And I think that's something that needs to be really, really encouraging for this team as they kind of, progress through the rest of these playoffs in this series, right? At 5-on-5, the Oilers have 8.82 expected goals for and have actually only scored 4 goals. So that really means that the Oilers are due. They are due. They are only shooting 4% at 5-on-5 right now. These are numbers that are unsustainably low. So, I'm looking for, a big rebound from this team in game 4. And I think this is something that they can absolutely bounce back from.
Jamie Fitzpatrick on YouTube, not a fan of me, saying I'm soft. It's playoffs. Zach should be running the show. Zach, I'll sit this one out if you want to take over. But I just put it this way. You're driving down the street. The speed limit's 60. You're beside a cop. Are you going to go 61? He shouldn't give you a ticket, but are you going to tempt fate like that? Yep. It's just something you don't have to do for Draisaitl. I agree. It's a soft call. It is very soft. Shouldn't be called. The Desharnais call shouldn't be called, but they were, and they hurt you, and avoidable things because, you get him, take a number down, get Doughty in the corner the next shift, get him, Draisaitl's a master at that stuff during the play. You don't have to do it after the whistle. All right, let's bring in Cam here, get his thoughts. I believe Cam is with us. Good evening. How you doing, sir?
I'm not doing my best, guys. That was a frustrating one. Not feeling too thrilled right now. That was a difficult game to swallow. That's for sure.
100%. We'll ask you the question for the Oily. Liam, the producer, threw it up there on the YouTube chat. Is Game 4 a must-win for the Oilers? 86% of the votes so far saying yes. Where do you come out on that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, the series is definitely not over just yet. The Oilers have a prime opportunity to come out and play a really strong game again in Game 4. This is nothing new for them. Remember last year, their backs were up against the wall, and they had to come and win Game 6, and they had to come and win Game 7. And that's what they did. It's going to be a difficult thing to go into LA again. We all saw their fans were rowdy and excited, and they respond when the Kings do hood rat shit during the game to piss the Oilers off. The fans love it and they get into it. So it's going to be an emotionally charged game again. I think I was sitting backstage listening to what you guys are talking about, Connor. I do agree the Oilers have to look at what the reffing has been this series, and they can't take any chances. The Draisaitl slash thing, completely avoidable. The Klim Kostin penalty, of course, LA doesn't score there, but again, completely avoidable. The Nugent-Hopkins back check, probably avoidable again in overtime as well. The Oilers did a really good job in Game 2 in Edmonton. In the third period, they almost looked pensive, afraid to finish their checks, but that's what this series is right now. The refs are really, as we know, not in their favor, so they have to lean into that if they want to win Game 4, and they have to win Game 4.
Yeah, 100%. My apologies. I said Liam, the producer. Obviously, it's Gavin, the producer. Give Gavin some love on the chat here because he made the leap from intern to producer. Congratulations, Gavin. That's awesome news. We knew it was going to happen. I want to ask you guys about a couple players that, were so good for this team during the regular season and thus far haven't seen a whole lot out of. Zach, am I fair to be critical of Zach Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins for what you've seen from them so far?
Yeah, absolutely. I tweeted about it, heading into the overtime period that, I wanted to see a non-29 or 97 top 6 player kind of insert themselves into this series. And it feels like, all of those guys, Zach Hyman, Evander Kane, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Kyler Yamamoto, they feel like they've been very much on the fringes of this series thus far. They've chipped in a little bit of offense here or there, an assist, a couple of shots on goal. Per game or per guy per night, but you aren't seeing anything that it feels like they did in the regular season here. We talked about this heading into the playoffs about how important the depth was going to be for this team and how important these guys that aren't McDavid and Draisaitl are going to be. Draisaitl, up until the second period of this game here has basically willed the Oilers to the point that they are in this series. And it was great to see McDavid get involved on the power play with those 2 big goals. But, Game 4, I think the message has to be, who's going to step up, right? Because somebody beyond these 2 big guys has to find a way to create some offense and get a couple of goals.
Cam, I guess same question. Thoughts on those 2 players? And I guess who do you think's more likely to step up and make a play for this team? Obviously, Hyman's getting the chance with McDavid. You've got Nuge, who's with the line changes down with Leon Draisaitl. Are you more optimistic that one of these guys can make an impact in Game 4?
I don't know. It's tough to say. I think the second line there, the Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, Yamamoto line, it's like the throwback to 2019-20 line. they've really been flying around. But the Kings have really, and Zach mentioned this earlier, the Kings have really done an excellent job of dealing with Edmonton's first line. They give Connor McDavid virtually no space to, get speed at all. They completely neutralized that line. And this was the trio that was so dominant for the Oilers during the regular season. So, those are three really good players that are going to have to find their way through for the Oilers at some point. And as we saw in Game 2, it was bottom six contributions as well. You get the Derek Ryan opening goal, and then you get the Klim Kostin go-ahead goal later in the game. Maybe that's what it's going to take. You can't always expect Connor McDavid to just will his way through opponents. The Kings know him very well. They're coached by Todd McClellan, who used to coach here, knows Connor McDavid as well as anybody. And Phil Deneau, one of the best defensive centers in the league, Doughty, Mikey Anderson. We got to give the Kings some credit. They've done a really good job at shutting them down. But since all those guys are focused on the top line, there are going to be chances for the second, third, and fourth lines to contribute offensively. And that's what the Oilers need badly in Game 4.
I don't know if you guys got a chance to hear any comments after, but there obviously was that lengthy review. The league determined that, I think the puck was touched by a high stick, but on the way down, it hit Ekholm, so gets rid of the high sticking there. So I think that was kind of the final decision with that one. They allowed the goal to count. But Gregor had the stat, the Oilers 2-10 in overtime since 2017. Obviously, one of the wins was the kick or the series clincher against the Calgary Flames last year, McDavid. Zach, I was telling our producer, Gavin, before we got going, I had a bad feeling as soon as regulation ran out. I don't know what it is about this team, but the confidence just isn't there in overtime. I don't know. You hope you have one of those guys who can just score a timely goal. Trevor Moore gets the job done tonight for the LA Kings, but something about overtime with this Oilers team, I don't like it. And going back to regulation this year, or with the regular season as well.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, even in the 3-on-3 overtime, you saw the Oilers struggle during the regular season this year, and which is strange to think of because you've got the two best players in the entire world in Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. But again, we talk about these non-star players, like these 97-29 players for the Oilers, and they just haven't been involved in this series. And you made the great point, Connor. Alex Iafallo, he's got a couple of big goals. Adrian Kempe, he's got a couple of goals. That's a huge goal for Trevor Moore in overtime right there as well. Finding a way to bang in a loose puck on the side of the net, right? It's frustrating to sit here and see because, these guys that have played in the top six were such a big part of the puzzle this year. And when there were nights where, Connor and Leon maybe weren't firing on all cylinders, you could rely on a guy like Zach Hyman to find a way to bury one or two, or Nugent Hopkins, found this great shot this season and was scoring a ton of goals. And it just seems to kind of dried up here. Just one quick interesting thing I'm seeing from the Scouting the Refs Twitter account. They say that the Velarde in overtime there, they say that it did hit Velarde's stick, and hitting Ekholm's back on the way down is not sufficient enough evidence to wave off a high stick. And apparently the situation room made the final ruling. But that was Scouting the Refs' opinion on that one, which was just another weird call from the officiating department tonight.
Yeah, so we hopped on here pretty quick afterwards. So I was kind of just scrolling through Twitter there and, trying to find some sort of justification. A lot of people on the Facebook and YouTube saying just inconclusive. So if that's the reason, that's super frustrating to accept for the Edmonton Oilers for sure. There was a point there. I think a lot of us thought, this game's going to keep on going. Obviously not the case in this one, but yeah, I don't know. Cam, when you first saw that, did you think it was coming back, or were you kind of leaning to the side that this one's over?
No, I was definitely leaning to the side this one's over. I don't know. I mean, it would have been nice if that had worked out in our favor. You always hope that it does. But I mean, if you look at it objectively, imagine if that was reversed and we're watching that after Derek Ryan or Klim Kostin scores an overtime goal, and we're like, what? This has nothing to do with the play. It doesn't matter. That's not really what the spirit of the review is. I think earlier in the game we saw a really well executed review when there was the Darnell Nurse and the Victor Arvidsson collision. And at the first glance on TV, it kind of looked like, oh, geez, maybe Darnell Nurse did a dirty play there, the way that Arvidsson flew through the air. But then they reviewed it and they made the right call, and that was great. And then in situations like this, that's not what the review is for. Just random stuff like that has nothing to do with the play. the Kings earned that goal. I completely agree with you guys. There wasn't a great feeling heading into the overtime. It honestly felt like the Oilers were the better team, pushing in the right direction as the third period was winding down. But then as soon as the overtime period started, it looked like their energy had been completely zapped. And it just felt that way from the moment the puck was dropped. It was Ekholm and Bouchard were bobbling the puck in their own zone. The Oilers couldn't get anything really going the other way. Then there's the penalty, of course. It just didn't have a great energy, and it's weird to see because, as Zach said, you got the two best players in the world in overtime, and you'd think that would give you the edge, but for some reason the Kings seem to be able to fire themselves up more than the Oilers do, and this is in both games, Game 1 and Game 3. The Kings got this thing done quickly in overtime too. They didn't let it drag on.
100%. Obviously, the power plays helped them out in both those games. A tough way for the Oilers. Both these games, obviously, in overtime. Power play goals. Credit to the Kings for capitalizing on their opportunities, but for the Oilers, extremely frustrating. One thing we should mention, if you are looking for a place to watch the game on Sunday and you want to go watch the Oilers Nation official watch party, you can head down to Greta. There'll be the watch party for every away game during the playoffs. You can reserve your table at gretabar.com/book or text 587-418-8507. They'll be giving away prizes. They'll pop up shops. So you can grab your Oilers Nation gear. Kind of like this shirt up here. If you want to get that shirt and you can't make it out to the party, go to nationgear.ca. You can check them out on social media at Nation Gear. But our producer, Aaron, is the hosting down there. He's always a good time. So, yeah, if you want to get out and watch a game in the city, we highly recommend you head down to Greta. Have a good time with the Oilers Nation crew. Check them out on social media. It was a good time. We got some Kings fans in here. A little bit of chirping going back and forth in the chat. 254 of you in there. Make sure you hit that like button. If you're having some fun at the expense of the Oilers' loss, at least give us a like. I'll make it a little bit easier here. Rude Street Collectibles. Nurse was horrible. Zach, on the first goal, I saw Darnell Nurse get a lot of hate at the intermission, though Bieksa and Kelly Rudy kind of brought up that Zach Hyman being F1, that probably was his obligation. Darnell Nurse maybe watching the puck a little bit, following Byfield out of the zone. What did you think of Darnell Nurse's performance in this one, Zach?
I didn't think it was a tremendous game or anything like that, but I wouldn't pin the game on him, in any sense of the term. I think that first goal was kind of a weird one because that puck really squirted out from the corner a long ways and kind of found its way to the point there. And then that shot came in. It was kind of a weird bouncer. So, I'm not ready to entirely pin that one on Darnell Nurse. I think he's a guy too that, his game needs to step up here. This is it's do or die time in the playoffs here. And I think there's just a lot of players that are kind of on the periphery of this series right now.
Cam, anyone stand out to you in this game, kind of flying under the radar, had a solid game from the Oilers' perspective?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. It's really hard to notice individual contributions when you're playing a game against a team like the Kings, because it almost feels like everything that happens comes off of a bounce. You're capitalizing on something weird happening. That goal we just talked about there, with people saying Darnell Nurse did the wrong thing. It's a puck that comes out of the corner, bounced a little bit awkwardly. I think even their overtime winning goal was sort of kind of like that too. And then from Edmonton's perspective, both their goals come on the power play. So getting things done against the Kings at even strength is incredibly hard. I did like some of the play of some of the bottom six players. I think Nick Bjugstad looked quite good. Derek Ryan scoots around, plays well. Klim Kostin gets physical in the offensive zone. Like I said in my last point, I really do think it's critical for the Oilers to get a clutch goal from one of these lower in the lineup players. I think you guys remember last year in Game 7, they got a goal randomly from Cody Ceci. Like that's what it's going to take, I think, to beat the Kings. You have to kind of play the Kings game. What they do is they plug things up. They do their 1-3-1. They make it impossible for anybody to get speed, have any time with their possession with the puck, and then you're waiting to just capitalize when it's weird, awkward bounces. So that's what the Oilers have to be ready to do in Game 4.
Zach, obviously Oilers fans frustrated. Do we have to look at the Kings and the game plan that they've had here with head coach Todd McClellan? You talked about it, the familiarity that he has with this Oilers team. I think we do have to give the Kings some credit because they are executing their game plan almost to a T, just keeping it close and finding a way just to edge out the Oilers in getting the advantages that they have so far in overtime.
Yeah, full stop. I think the Kings have been playing a really strong series here so far. They're doing a strong job in shutting down McDavid. They're doing a good job of trying to corral Leon Draisaitl, which hasn't been the easiest thing. I think one thing that's kind of interesting to note too is that, Jay Woodcroft was just comfortable and happy to take the matchups that, LA was trying to give to them. Especially on home ice too. That was something that I noticed, right? You would think that you would try and get a guy like Connor McDavid away from a guy like Philip Deneau, right? Who is so strong defensively. Is that a mistake? I mean, it's hard to say. Right now, it's easy for the LA Kings to get the matchups they want having home ice. So, as this series progresses, I think that's absolutely something to watch. But, at the end of the day, I still think the Oilers are playing some really good hockey here. I said it earlier in the show, they're doing a very good job of controlling the pace of play. They just got to figure out a way to beat Jonas Corpusalo, which, as strange as it sounds, he's playing some really good hockey. But, even when Corpusalo was with the Columbus Blue Jackets, it always felt like he was a bit of a thorn in the side of the Edmonton Oilers, putting up some good performances with that team, even though they were terrible. So, Oilers just have to find a way to get it done here in game 4 because, it is getting to be make or break time.
On Facebook, Kurt says, no credit, Halley. Okay, fine. No credit to the LA Kings. Cam Corpusalo. We had Kevin Woodley on the show with Jason Gregor on Monday, and I believe one of the points he said with Corpusalo, beating him along the ice is tough. You got to get the puck high, and I have noticed there's been a lot of low shots, maybe not intentional, but, got to get the puck high to beat him. Anything else you think the Oilers can do to try to rattle his cage a little bit? Because like I said earlier on, 40 shots faced, 38 saves, a .950 save percentage, and he's been really good for the Kings. What a pickup that was for them.
Yeah, seriously. If you go back and look at last year's series, the Oilers didn't play a fantastic series. It took them a little while last spring for them to kind of find their wheels and sort out LA. And one of the reasons, you go back to the Oilers, the series swing back to Los Angeles, and they had those huge wins. A big reason for that was Jonathan Quick had a really difficult time in that series last year. So as good as the Kings were defensively last year, they gave a lot of it back with Jonathan Quick being kind of mid and net. But this year, Jonas Corpusalo has been absolutely fantastic. You have a combination of a hot goalie and a team that locks things down defensively, gives their opponents, no space to work, really tightens things up in the offensive zone so they don't get those quality chances like, you see in the regular season, the Oilers are so good at just ripping the puck around the offensive zone. Leon Draisaitl does that backhand pass, and then Nugent Hopkins or somebody has, 2 seconds to pick his shot, or someone's feeding Draisaitl for his one-timer. It's really hard to execute that against the Kings. And then even when you do, if you do, Jonas Corpusalo has been standing on his head. So the Oilers kind of have to just hope that, he's seen a ton of rubber in this series, and you have to kind of hope that as time goes along, he just, there's a straw that breaks the camel's back and shots just start going through. But it's a different series than last year because Jonathan Quick was the weak point last year and Corpusalo has now become a strong point. The Kings are better now than they were this time last year.
Frank on Facebook says, if you rewatch this game, all board battles, Oilers lost them all week along the boards. I noticed that a lot in this game. The Kings were finding ways to win those battles. Christopher on Facebook says, need to stay more disciplined and then maybe catch a break here or two from the Zebras. I wouldn't count on it. The way this series has gone, I wouldn't count on that, but more disciplined, 100%. I'm with you there. One thing should mention here, you're hungry. Maybe you want to head out, get a bite to eat. Why not go to Boston Pizza? They've got the Fanalytics menu. It's pretty awesome. They've got a pizza flight, I think it's called, and it's pretty amazing. 3 different pizzas. Pretty cool. And I'm supposed to draw some analytics here. Oilers lost 3-2. That's my number. Zach, you got any Fanalytics for the people that they might want to hear about tonight? Anything popping off the dome here?
Yeah, the underlying numbers, like I said earlier, were great. Tonight the Oilers did a really good job, mainly in the second and third period of controlling the pace of play, controlling 63% of the shot attempts, as well as 53% of the expected goal share played at 5-on-5. The second period was really the strongest for the Edmonton Oilers. They had 1.43 expected goals at 5-on-5 alone. So they really should have found a way to beat, Corpusalo. And it was interesting. You guys were talking a little bit about going upstairs on Corpusalo. Take a look at both of McDavid's goals that he scored tonight. What did he do? He went top shelf, far side and short side. I also think back to the third period where, there was two instances where Leon Draisaitl had set up both Cody Ceci and Kyler Yamamoto on back-to-back plays in the offensive zone, and neither of those guys were able to bury that one as well. So I thought that was really interesting right there as well, because it felt like that was a great time, for somebody to kind of step up their game a little bit here and find a way to get a goal, right? Because, Cody Ceci's a guy who, he doesn't really put up a lot of offense, but, you'd love to see him at least hit the net. And same thing with Kyler Yamamoto. I mean, I hate to be this guy, but we think back to a guy like Jesse Puljujärvi when he was in Edmonton, right? How many times did we hear people be like, hey, he's going to need to start converting on those chances at some point if he wants to stay in the top six? How long did we hear about that narrative? Can you guys remember the last time Kyler Yamamoto scored a goal even? I really am struggling to, and I don't mean to, be so hard individually on one guy here, but at the end of the day, you're playing in the top six with the best, two of the best players in the world, right? So, at some point you have to find a way to be able to convert on these chances, because frustrating. It's really frustrating to sit and watch.
Yeah, Kyler Yamamoto's last goal was March 20th against San Jose. He had 2 goals in 2 games, and he hasn't scored since then. I'm with you. I mean, I like Kyler Yamamoto's game, and I think Leon Draisaitl does too. That's why he's there. But you get those opportunities, you need him to bury them, and 100%, he's just not doing that. There you go. There's little stats. Fanalytics, powered by Boston Pizza. And if you're going to go there tonight, they're always open till 1:32 a.m. You can go grab a beer. Maybe a Boston Brute. Check out their new Fanalytics menu. Your neighborhood Boston Pizza. Zach, you just shared this with us. Leon Draisaitl speaking to the media after the game. Don't think we have the audio, but just pretend I'm him. You don't call a clear knee-on-knee right in front of you, and then you call a slashing penalty. You just don't really know what the standard is right now. That was Leon Draisaitl when asked about his frustrations with the refs following the Oilers' loss to the Kings. And, it's, people will say quit complaining with the refs, but he's right. The standard is just kind of it's not a straight line. We don't really know what's going to get called, what's not going to get called. And the Oilers assistant captain letting his frustrations be heard, Zach.
Yeah, and good for him. Take the fine, boys. Let's go. These guys are paid enough money. You know what I'm saying? We've seen Rod Brindamore, take a couple in his day out there in Carolina. There's no reason that these guys, McDavid, Draisaitl, Jay, I mean, they can afford him. We'll put it to you that way, right? But at the end of the day, he makes a great point, right? I mean, that Alex Edler knee on Warren Foegele, if that's not a 5-minute major for kneeing, I don't know what is. That's as deliberate as it comes, right? I think there was multiple instances tonight too where you would have liked to see some of these penalties called and stuff like that.
Cam, what do you think about Leon Draisaitl voicing the opinion? A little bit pissed off with the stripes tonight, and kind of probably speaking for the whole team.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, I think we all kind of brought it up. His slashing penalty was a frustrating one to take. It's one, Connor, you mentioned you can avoid it just like you avoid, speeding by a cop on the highway, but also put yourself in the player's shoes too, right? You've seen Connor McDavid get his ass kicked for the first 2.5 games of the series, and as soon as and then it's as bad as it is in Edmonton, and then you go back to LA and it becomes even worse. And I mean, he's getting grabbed and smacked. Drew Doughty even said before the series he didn't even hold back. He explicitly said, if we have an opportunity to smack him, we'll take it, or whatever it was he said specifically. He put it out there. It's known, and there's a history here. There was, during the regular season, the first 2 times the teams met, Alex Edler did a dangerous almost knee-on-knee hit on McDavid that could have been terrible. And I mean, it's easy to see why the frustration boils over. We can sit here from our living rooms and say, oh, Leon Draisaitl knows better than that. He's a veteran, he's blah, blah, blah. But I mean, how much would it piss you off seeing your teammate, your good friend, your captain get hit like that over and over and over again, and the refs just don't do anything? I mean, we're beating a dead horse here, but what more can you say? It's mind-numbing what opponents get away with on him.
I absolutely loved Leon Draisaitl skating past Doughty. I love that. I mean, talking to their bench, things like that. I mean, we've seen it in the past. I love that about him. Just the little tap on the shin, probably could have avoided that one. What should we mention here? We should give a shout out. I don't know if they're watching, but Jay Tyler, Bagged Milk, all down in LA for the game tonight. Look like they're having a good time. Looks like they're staying on a golf course. I don't know if you guys saw their stories on Instagram, but looks like they're having a good time. You know, their trip is powered by AMA Travel. With that, just a quick AMA out-of-town scoreboard. Boston over Florida 4-2. They take a 2-1 series lead. Carolina falling to the New York Islanders 5-1. Carolina still leads. Jesse Puljujarvi did get into that game for the Carolina Hurricanes. Speaking of JP, and Minnesota over Dallas 5-1. Minnesota now leads that series by a score, or by 2-1. Evan Bouchard, 4 points now in the playoffs. I think he's tied for defenseman among scoring here. Obviously, when your job is just to get it to McDavid on the power play, it makes it easy to pick up those easy apples. But good for him. You like to see that one. Why don't we bring in the new producer? Gavin, no longer the intern. I don't know if there's a ceremony or anything for Gavin taking that next step. Gavin, overall, how was your time as an intern?
It was good. Yeah, I was there since about like the end of December. So yeah, it was a good, awesome 4 months, and I'm excited to continue my journey with the nation for sure.
You'll forever be Gavin the intern. Don't worry.
Yeah, good. I was hoping.
No one ever loses those tags, man. Chris the intern hasn't worked here in like 4 years, and he's still Chris the intern.
Yeah.
Gavin told me specifically, I'm no longer the intern. I'm now the producer. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll slip out. I already called you
officially today.
I already called you Liam, which is a behavior of what we would treat.
I could have been called a lot worse. So Liam's okay.
Okay. Very quickly, what was the biggest lesson you learned as an intern?
Biggest lesson I learned is and that's a tough one, but just do whatever, right? Just kind of. Because when I came to the nation kind of thing, I wasn't a producer before. I didn't really know the streaming. I didn't know the software kind of thing. So I stayed after hours and sat down with producer Aaron, and he trained me up on it. And now I get to do this with you guys every night. So absolutely love it.
I say when the boss leaves his wallet in a cab in Vegas, you chase it. That would be a great lesson.
And that was a good one too.
Okay. All right. Let's get to a couple predictions here before we wrap this one up for Betway. I got to say beforehand, I was thinking this one was hitting the over. I was wrong. I don't like to bet the over, but I thought we'd get there. 3-2 final. Not quite. Let's start with Cam. We'll go clockwise, counterclockwise. We'll go to Cam, then Zach, then Gavin. Prediction for next game and a Betway pick as well.
I think game 4 will go similar to the way game 2 went. What I think will happen is LA will open the scoring quickly in the first, get things exciting, and the Oilers will answer back with 3 goals plus an empty netter, and they will win the game 4-1. And then my bet would be, I think, log Connor McDavid in for a 3-point game.
Oh, I like it. Zach, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Oilers come back and win game 4 here in LA. They've shown the ability to win these important games on the road before. Just look at the playoffs last year when the Oilers had to come into LA, win a couple of big games, right? So, yeah, I think that, I think they come back, bounce back with a win. McDavid over 1.5 points. He gets back on that train with a big performance, and we get an Oilers victory.
Gavin, your parlays have been well documented here on Oilers Nation After Dark. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I think we force a split, and I think we lock it down. So I'm going to go a 2-1 Oilers win. So that kind of translates to the under. But then for my player prop, I think Hyman pots one right in front of the net. So Hyman anytime goal score.
Okay, I'll take a 3-1 Oilers victory, and then I'm going to kind of piggyback off that one. I'm going to say Hyman and Nuge both score goals. Big game. They need them to step up. This is a moment for them to do so. Kind of backs up against the wall. Need goals from those guys, so I think they get them. Take it a step further. Both power play goals, I will say. One last thing to mention before we get going. Close now, but I think tomorrow, if you're looking for a bite to eat for lunch, make sure you head down to Oodle Noodle. All Oodle Noodle locations across the city giving away Oilers Nation stickers. So go grab some noodles, get a nice little bite to eat, and pick up an Oilers Nation sticker, throw it on your car, and join the nation. Let everyone know you're a citizen. Also, hey, if you enjoyed this tonight, make sure you tell a friend. If you're on Facebook, give us a like. On YouTube, same thing. Twitter, you want to throw a share or a retweet, that would be appreciated. Make sure you follow Oilers Nation across all their social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can read the articles on OilersNation.com. Great stuff coming up there. And I highly recommend you check out the Oilers Nation stories on Instagram, because they were down at Greta for the watch party. It looked like a great time. Everyone's having a blast. I think, if you wanted to get there for last call and you're in the area, you probably could run down, Gavin. Maybe something you might want to do.
Yeah, I'm right down the street. So
are you guys all downtown, actually? You guys hypothetically could all go if you're, I'm on the south side. I don't know if I can make it
right
out
now.
And I'm old, but yeah, you guys should definitely go down there, have a beer. Maybe Aaron will buy. I'm sure he's quite lubricated up tonight, having a good time. That'll do it for us here on Oilers Nation After Dark. On behalf of Cam, Zach, Gavin, the producer, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll talk to you on Sunday. Hopefully, the Oilers make it a 2-2 series, and we're enjoying that one. I'm Connor Halley. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We'll talk to you next time.